Welcome, friends. Today, we are going to be doing a comparison video. Nice. And the comparison video we are going to be doing today is a very special one. And it is on a long-standing and very successful fragrance by Guerlain. And that is, as you can see, Vetiver. I am very fortunate to own 4 different iterations going back to the 70s of Vetiver. And we are going to see how they compare and how they have changed through time. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. Nice. So, I'll tell you a little about each one, when they're from. As you can see, the bottles have changed through time. And then we will start smelling and see how it has changed. So yesterday I was watching Ramsey's video about Alain Delon and the Alain Delon Classique and how he compared and contrasted them and how they'd changed over time. And he mentioned that it was very niche fraghead content. Not necessarily niche fragrance, but niche fraghead content, because there is like nobody else who's got both versions of that fragrance to compare. And I was like, yes, that is interesting. I was like, I've got a few fragrances like that. Excuse me. And then I thought, that's very interesting. He said this at just the right time, because yesterday my scent of the day was Vetiver. This version, the latest version, as you will come to find when I tell you. You can see I've put a dent in it already. That's not just yesterday, though. But anyway, I got to thinking, and I thought, I'll do a comparison video like Ramsey. So, let's see what happens. And here we are. I have 4 different versions. Now, this version is in a bottle I didn't know existed, frankly. And this is from the late 70s, apparently. There was absolutely no information on the bottle. So, here it is on the front. Eau de Cologne for men. 114 milliliters, 4 ounce. So it's before we move to 120, rounding everything up, So this was made for fluid ounces, 114 mil, eau de cologne, and it's distinctly for Canada. I have a lot of vintage fragrances from Canada. Canada's probably got the best vintage market in the world, I've got a theory about why that is. I may very well tell you what that is. So my theory is that Canada is a Western market. So they have Western perfume tastes, but it's also a small market. It's a very small market. There's only 5 million people live in Canada or something silly like that, isn't there? And it's a huge country. It's absolutely massive. It's the second biggest country on earth by landmass. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. A huge and great country. Fantastic. They have Western perfume tastes. There's a lot of immigration going on, so because it's part of the new world, so you've got a melting pot of different cultures, different people, but it was settled originally and early by West, and it's just north of America, so it's basically it is a Western market. So they have all of these luxury products coming in. They've got one of the best cities in the world to live in, which is Toronto, regularly voted the best city in the world to live in, even though the prices are insane. And brands want a piece of that market, because there's room for huge expansion in Canada of markets, of trade, all that sort of stuff. And you want to get yourself established early. Now, my thinking is about why there's so many vintages in Canada is that while it is a Western market and these brands want to get in early and they have established themselves early, it's that it's still a small market, even though it's a Western market, and stuff like this can go unsold and it can just sit there. And there's a culture in Canada of like, they're quite a clean society, so they don't throw things away, very DIY, you know, do it yourself. Very like keep things around in case one day you need them. So there's not a culture of like just like there is in Britain or America where like you just like you use a product, you consume it, and then you just throw it away. You don't do that in Canada, you know. You don't throw things away if you don't have to. So I think this is why Canada's such a gold mine, or has been. It certainly has been for me, as to why they have so many vintage fragrances. I knew I was going to come full circle here. So this is why I think Canada's such a gold mine, and has been for me. Enchanté, Le Parfumier. I actually bought this bottle from Britain, but this is a much more modern bottle. And I also bought this from Britain. So I think Canada is a goldmine for those sorts of reasons. The product is there, and if it doesn't get sold, it just sort of stays there. But then the brands like bring out new stuff, and stuff like this like gets put to the back because nobody's bought it, but they still keep it anyway. Whereas in Britain, they might try and move it on and just get some extra money in, you know. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. So, this bottle, I'll start again. This bottle is from the 70s, so I was told by Anuj. This is unique to Canada because it's got the Canada label there, Vetiver Guerlain, Canada Limited, Villacelle, Quebec. Also, Canada's got like the French Quarter, you know what I mean? Montreal is like French thing, so you're going to get a lot of luxury products. I forgot to mention that as well. This bottle is from the early 90s, I believe, when they first re-released it as part of the... you can't make that out. Why is it doing that? Sorry about that. So it's Vetiver Eau de Toilette Guerlain. I don't think you can see on the bottom, but there is a 5-digit batch code, which is VR1BN. So this is a early 90s bottle when they had Habit Rouge in this bottle. They also had Derby in this bottle as well. One of the things Louis Vuitton maybe did was to try and standardize the bottles to try and make some savings. Not to worry though. It's got the gold cap. This is a tester. It's the only one you can get. I could get of this. This is also a tester, but I don't care about that. It's about the juice. This one is the famous ribbed bottle version. This is fantastic. This has also got a 4.2 ounce bottle, 125 ml. I think this is a 2002 bottle. Maybe, no, I think it is a 2002 bottle, 2F01. So it could be 2012, but I don't think it is, because I think they've moved to the Listerines by then. But either way, I'm not bothered. And this is the latest version, and it is nigh on impossible to see when this was made because the light's acting funny buggers. 8C01. So this is like a 2018 bottle, you know. All very good. All in good condition, all very good. Even the latest one. I wore the latest one yesterday. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Performance, brilliant. Smell, brilliant. The purpose of this video is to just test them. Now, I've spent 10 minutes farting on and not actually testing them. So, we shall start at the beginning, shall we? Yes. Yes, we shall. So, we will try Vetiver Guerlain from Quebec, Canada. A 70s bottle. Let's see how it goes. Oh, sprayer's not the greatest, I won't lie to you. Oh! Wow. That is dark. Still got that vetiver freshness. But it's dark, tarry, rooty, smoky. It's completely different from the other three. Already, I can tell you now. The tobacco in this is much more like a tobacco absolute, you know, like a dark, almost medicinal. You know, vetiver can come across quite medicinal sometimes. Dark, smoky, much more like an Encre Noir than a vetiver. This almost feels like a completely different scent. If you've ever smelled Route de Vetiver by Maître Parfumier Gantier, that is a black, tarry, resinous version of vetiver. You know, it's literally like black tar with like hints of greenness. That's what this is like. This is very pitch. I don't know if this has gone off. I don't think it has, because the brightness is still there. It's just at the back. This is much darker and much thicker. I'll be interested to speak to someone who wore vetiver years ago, who knew if this was what it was supposed to smell like. But I would still wear this, but I would wear this in like the dead of winter or like deepest November, you know, when it's dark for like 19 hours a day. It's very, very dark. Wow. That's very different from the others. So, next. Vetiver from the early 90s. Now, I'm thinking this might be a 91, but I don't know. We will see. Much better. Spray's much better on this. 2 sprays. This is rich. It's not as dense and smoky and compact as that is. This is very finely balanced. Fresh. I'm getting some of like the top notes, you know, like vetiver, grapefruit, bit of powder. Not getting the tobacco yet. This has definitely got that sort of crystalline, mentholated sort of freshness that you get, that you expect from this fragrance, you know? If you've ever used like menthol crystals, or if you've ever used like those sort of like aromatherapy sort of crystals where you put them in a little bit of water and then you melt them you put them over a candle, which then precipitates it into the air. That's what I get a lot from like vetivers, not just Guerlain's vetiver, but vetivers, and that it's got that sort of thing at the top. It's very fresh. That is kept beautifully. Much more recognizable as one of these vetivers, you know. I really like it, but it's very rich. It's very rich with it, you know. It's almost got that it's got that contrast between, like, because vetiver is a very interesting material. It's got that contrast between dark and light, minty fresh, and yet like dark, rich, almost like a chocolatey sort of vibe sometimes, vetiver. I'm not getting the tobacco through on this one yet. Or am I? No, not yet. So that's but it's very rich. I'm not getting a standout tobacco note, but I am getting something a lot richer and a lot deeper and fuller. Next, we have vetiver from the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, before they moved to this bottle, which is a shame that they did that, because this bottle's great. It's a bit of a nightmare to use if you haven't got massive hands. Unfortunately, I do. It's got vetiver, and then on the other side it says Guerlain, or Guerlain, however. Now with this is a lot brighter, and I've known this about this fragrance. It's almost like a like cherry, like the glass cherries. But if you can imagine like a glass grapefruit, or like grapefruit in like grapefruit syrup. It's got the top note. The top note's much stronger in this one. And I think it's a feature of the fragrance rather than these two being. Although I am concerned that this one might be a little bit turned. We haven't heard that phrase for a while. Oh dear. So the tobacco's a lot more apparent in this one, strangely. I don't know if it's because, if you can see, like this one's had much more time. I think I bought this as a partial. This one's had a lot more time to open up, whereas this one hasn't. You know, this hadn't been sprayed when I bought it. This one had. Clearly, I think I just got this for nothing. I fucking love the bottle, though. It's so 60s, 70s, do you know what I mean, isn't it? It's like a wax, do you know Baby Bells? It's almost like that. You know, you can see it's come off a little bit on the base where they've like been producing it crazy. But this one's a lot like, for me, this is a lot fresher, a lot brighter than the previous two. This may have been, I can imagine people 25s, around like your mid-20s, you wear a suit to work, like you work in an office. This is the sort of fragrance you would wear. This is this is much more austere compared to this version. This version's a lot brighter and fresher, but the tobacco's still there. The depth is still there. You know, it's still going to have good performance. This is almost like a freshie. You know, it's refreshing. It's new. It's extremely well made. So, I really like this. I'm a big fan. Now, moving on to the last one. This is a 2018 bottle. And I like it a lot. There we go. So, this is the latest version. I haven't smelled like a present day one because it's been 4 years. Everything seems to get reformulated roughly every 5 years. 5 to 7 years. This is different. So this is a lot closer to this one, right? This is a lot brighter and a lot fresher. This is a lot closer to this one. It's more austere. The vetiver is less bright. The grapefruit isn't as present. But the tobacco is. I think this is sharper. I think it's more defined. This is painted with broader strokes, you know, fewer and broader strokes. So it gives off the impression of the previous three, but it isn't as definitive. It isn't as fine. It isn't as. Oh, it's still lovely though. You get that tobacco in the base, and it's like a fresh tobacco. It's not like a. It's not like a It's not like a dirty tobacco or a wet tobacco or a sweet tobacco. It's still well balanced, but it's not as fine and as definitive as this one. I'm going to go back through them and see how I feel. I'm going to tell you a little about the dry downs on them as well, because I've got some dry downs. So this one is much more like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a licorice note in this, but like a dark black licorice, like black. Very tarry, very dense. It's not a warming perfume. It's incredibly smoky. It's definitely changed over the years. I would just love to know if it was if this, when it was made, was more reminiscent of this and this, or even this, than what it is. Because this is almost a completely different fragrance. It's black, runny, thick tar. But still vetiver. Still vetiver, though. If you've never had a vetiver like that, see if you can find Route de Vetiver by Maître Parfumier Gantier. I've got a red bottle vintage of that. There's only 15ml left in, and that is so pitch. It's almost like it's like a tire fire almost. It's got that sort of dark, starch, thick, black, like 80-year-old lung smoking 80 cigarettes a day sort of thing, this isn't like quite like that, but it's fantastic in its own way. Tobacco's coming through a lot more now. The tobacco in the base is lovely. It's a very aristocratic sort of tobacco. It's very, imagine you walked into like a stately home, and like the bloke who'd like inhabited it, like generations of old men, had like smoked a pipe in there, but also it was still clean, but it was just in the bricks. The smell of the tobacco was just in the bricks. It was of the house. That's what the tobacco in that smells like. It's very, very interesting, sophisticated. I think the top has turned, but the mid and the base is sensational. This one feels like it's very tightly sprung, like it's like that, right? And it needs air in it to like open it up and let it breathe a little. It smells brand new. It's obviously been kept brilliantly. I mean, Le Parfum, they're like a proper, Big Tony at Le Parfum, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to keep a fragrance. He's been in the game for years, This needs more air in it. I should really wear it more, but it is one of me prized. It is one of me prized. Like, I mean, I've got lots of prized perfumes, but I prize this one because it is of that early 90s. It's from the same line as like the Habit Rouge, the Derby, the Vetiver, when they all came out in them bottles, There's a little bit of spice to it. That could be me. No. It's rich. You can tell it needs to open up a little bit. You will get this with like a lot of perfumes. They will just like sit there and just like hibernate. And I think that's what this one's doing. This is like the richest. No, sorry. This is obviously the richest because it's the densest, but this is probably the best midway point. Because it's still got that vintage sort of and that old crafting to it, when they took more care and when the ingredients hadn't been like butchered. So it's very dense and it feels like it would open up beautifully if you wore it on skin. I haven't worn it on skin yet because I was going to go through this bottle, but I'll get to that at the end. But yes, I'll have to come back to this in a separate video. This and I'm also speaking from experience here, this is like it's in its prime. It's opened up. It's fresh. It's dark. It's light. The grapefruit in this is absolutely fabulous. I think this is probably the one to get. It's aged, but it hasn't gone off. It hasn't, and it's opened up simply because, I mean, look, I've used like 15. No, sorry, I haven't used that at all. 15% has been used. Say about 15 mil, 20 mils of that's been used. It's had air at it, so the molecules have had time to like mature and open and like give a little bit. So you're getting the full experience of the Guerlain. It's fresh at the top. It's light. It lasts all day. The tobacco in the dry down is very well defined. It's very well made. It's very good. I spoke to Eugene as well. He's a huge fan of that one. He's also got this one as well, and he likes it, but he says this one's better, and I tend to agree. This one, it's very nice. It's very good. If you compare this to everything else on the shop floor, because you will find this on the shop floor, this is probably a lot better than what your blue fragrances, your other green fragrances, your dark fragrances. This is a proper winning signature scent. If you're in your mid to late 20s, you want to smell fresh but classy, you want to smell intelligent. That's what that smells like. But it is not as well defined. It's not as intricate. It's not got like, when like things open up, like, like an onion, like everything's like, it hasn't got those layers. It's more of like a 2D experience, whereas these are more of a 3-dimensional experience. The dry down is fantastic. You still get the vetiver and some of the freshness in the dry down, but it will go through a work day with you, and it will smell as you feel at 4 or 5 o'clock when you knock off, right? When you finish work, right, you will feel, oh, tired. I've done a full day's work. I need to rest. I need to eat. I need to chill. I need to spend time with people who need spending time with. That's what this fragrance will do. It will be a nice tobacco still with a little bit of freshness left in it. So it's not bedtime yet, but it's still got that sort of personality. This keeps up that freshness, and it keeps up that sort of go into the evening, right? So it lasts a bit longer. It's a bit strong. I'm speaking from experience now because I know what the dry downs are like on these myself. It has lost that like sort of glacial top sort of thing going on, but it's still got the freshness from the vetiver, and it's still got the depth from the tobacco. There are obviously other notes in this, but I'm focusing mainly on these ones because they're the ones I get. This I haven't worn, and I can't go into the dry down as much. I need to spend more time, but the top to me indicates, and I can smell it there, it's soapier. It's more sort of like refined. It makes you feel more like a gentleman. This has been reformulated to smell younger, I think. The bottle would indicate that to me as well. The whole premise of like this formulation says to me that they were going for a younger audience with an older scent, and they thought they could achieve that. And I agree, actually. What they've done with it is amped up some facets at the top, and they have not moved certain things to the back, but they haven't given them the prominence that they have in these two. Fragrances used to be all about the base, if you'll forgive us for stealing a phrase. But now they're all about the top, because it's what people smell in the shop. It's what people smell at first. First impressions last. These two fragrances are from a time. These two formulations are from a time where patience was a virtue. You had to think and wait, and delayed gratification. And I think this fragrance, and especially this one's almost mindless compared to the other three. I hate to say that, because it smells really nice. It just doesn't operate the same way that these three make. If you want us to rank them, I'm going to go with this one first. And I know that's going to be quite hard to swallow, considering I've said I haven't worn it and I don't understand. But what I think is going to happen is it's going to have that thing that I love about vintages, whereas it's like a tale all the way through the day. You know, like it unfolds and keeps unfolding, and it's rich and it's dark, and it keeps happening as like an event. And I think as it unfolds, it's going to get better. So that's why I'm going to say that one, mainly because I'm looking forward to it. I'll come back and I'll do a comparison again, maybe it's in like a couple of years' time, and compare these two and see. Oh, and this one. The reason I won't be doing this one is because I think I'm going to give it to my mate. I'm getting another couple of bottles of this. I would say this one's second, right? This one's third, and this one's last. And I'm getting a couple of bottles of this one because I really love it. This is such an easy wear. You know how people say there's like, I remember Jer from Fragrance Bros. I used to use the term dumb reach, which is, I mean, like, you know, it's one of those Americanisms that is like, it's just straight to the point, and it's absolutely nailed it. It's not like the sort of terminology I want to use myself, but I literally can't think of any other way of putting it. This is a sensational dumb reach, right? This is a work fragrance. This is something that would do you all day, and yet you could wear this anywhere at any time. It's absolutely fantastic. It's bright, it's fresh, it's classy, but it could also be sporty. You know, you could also wear this playing a sport. I could totally see that. I don't think you couldn't wear that playing a sport. People would think like, I don't know what people would think, but they would be like, bloody hell, he smells like dog. This one strikes me as like chairman of the board. This strikes me as like young, up and coming, someone who aspires to be that in 40 years. And this one, bless this one, it's almost too much of a dumb reach. Does that make sense? It's too easy. It's been dumbed down. It's had a lobotomy, bless it. And I do love it. I do genuinely like that fragrance. I mean, you can see how much I've worn. And if it wasn't for the fact I was getting another couple of these, I wouldn't be giving that away. But I am. And my friend hasn't got this and really likes it. So I'm just going to gift it to him tonight when I see him. Don't tell him. It's a surprise. But yes, this has been my comparison video on one of the greatest fragrances ever made. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope I haven't rambled and drifted around too much, but that's kind of what I tend to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day. We'll see you again soon. Bye.